Welcome all to another fabulous edition of the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast, and I am, as I always am, the Common Constitutionalist. And I missed you last week. I hope everybody had a great Easter, but we're going to get on with things now. So I've got a couple of topics to discuss today, and both have to do with new guidelines. One has to do with new immigration guidelines, and the other has to do with a certain college, a university, who has some other new guidelines we'll discuss today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
Okay, so here we go. First one is, this is from the Daily Mail. I haven't done anything from the Daily Mail in a little while, so it's high time we did something from the Daily Mail. Some of my favorite people. I don't even know. Maybe they're all scumbags. But they do some good stuff and they break some good stories. How's that? And they write regarding there's new immigration guidelines that are being announced or have just been announced. Oh, you haven't heard? Well, let me clue you in, okay? This is very exciting stuff, so listen up. Speak English and share our values. Immigrants must integrate and work if they want to become citizens under our tough new citizenship rules. So that sounds pretty good, right? And it would be great if it only were American, but it ain't American. Now, granted, Trump and Attorney General Sessions and Kelly, the immigration dude, immigration, what's your title? Oh, I'm an immigration dude. DHS Secretary. Holy shnikes. All right, so anyway, so Kelly, Sessions, and Trump have been doing a bang-up job regarding illegal immigration and immigration. Well, I'm sure they'll get to that, but let's tackle the illegal immigration problem in the United States. This, on the other hand, is from Australia. It ain't from America. It ain't from Europe. It's not from England or France or Germany or any place that actually has actual problems with immigration. This is from Australia. Not that they don't have problems with immigration, but they don't have the problems that we all have with immigration, if you know what I mean. So the Daily Mail writes that Prime Minister Malcolm Turnball said proficiency in the English language is the single best thing any person coming to this country can do. Imagine that. Speak English in an English-speaking country. Go figure. But then he turns around and says, what we're doing is strengthening our multicultural society and strengthening our commitment to Australian values. Well, that is... The two don't match. The two don't they don't coincide with one another. They don't go together. That's what I'm trying to say here. You don't have an acclaimed multicultural society the way multiculturalism is taught these days in the way we think of multiculturalism, and have American or Australian or German values or whatever the heck it happens to be. It doesn't work. Multiculturalism today is you put your home country first and your host country second. The country that you're currently living it makes no never mind to anybody anymore. It's what you're supposed to do is cling to your old culture, cling to the culture you came from, celebrate it, and everybody else should celebrate it along with you, and not the American or the Australian or the German or French or whatever culture. That's multiculturalism today. So by doing what Prime Minister Malcolm Turnball is suggesting, or his cabinet, or however they work it down there, I think it's the same as the British Parliament system down there, it's not going to strengthen the multicultural society. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to strengthen a commitment to Australian values and to the Australian way of life, for want of a better term. So here are the key components to the new Citizenship Test. There's going to be a new test and new guidelines. First, Applicants must be permanent residents for 4 years before seeking citizenship. They only used to have to be there a year, and then they could seek citizenship. So now I don't feel so bad, because the American system is a lot more lengthy than that, and that's okay. This is a real key and would be a real sticking point to the lefties in America. Must demonstrate competent English language skills through a tougher reading, writing, and listening test. Could you imagine the ACLU and all these other lefty groups up in arms if Trump or anyone would suggest a citizenship test where they must demonstrate competency in the English language, reading, writing, and listening? Can you imagine the outcry, the racism and all that? It would be rich. I would love it, frankly. And we should have that too. Because there is nothing that separates a society, that segregates a society, than disparate languages. In order to have a properly running society, a country must have a common language. And the people within the country must be able to use it proficiently. How hard is this to understand? It ain't hard. And evidently, at least Australia gets it. One must show steps taken to integrate into and contribute to the Australian community. Evidence of employment. Ha! That's a good one. Evidence. How about evidence of a welfare check? There you go. Evidence of food stamp or SNAP benefits. That's the ticket. Evidence of SSI benefits. There you go. So they have to have evidence of employment, membership of community organizations, not La Raza, school enrollment for all eligible children. Next, citizen tests will include new and more meaningful questions about an applicant's understanding of and commitment to Australia's shared values and responsibilities. I can't imagine the outcry in America if one were to suggest things like this. But bully for the Australian Parliament or Turnball or whoever the crap thought this up. Applicants who cheat during the citizenship test will automatically fail. Really? Okay, there you go. Tougher criminal history checks, including involvement in gang activity or domestic violence, won't be tolerated. They are out if that's the case. And wording of the citizenship pledge will change, although they don't have what it's changed, what it is currently, or what it's changed to. Don't know that one. Turnball said that Australian citizenship should be honored, cherished. It is a privilege. Ha, what a joke. It should be a right. It should be a human right for all people. Oh, no, that's just America. That's right. Anybody who lands in America, it's a human right to become a citizen of America. Or just at least land here and live here without anybody bothering you while you go collect your welfare check or your food stamps or your housing benefits or any other dag, or your free health care. Or your free education. Oh, yeah, that's right. And it also adds that Immigration Minister Peter Dutton denied the charges that the changes were targeted at one religion. Gee, I wonder what that religion could be. But rather at a particular behavior and attitudes. So it's not the religion. It's not Islam. It's Islamist attitudes. It's Sharia. It's that kind of stuff that's not tolerated, that doesn't go well with the Australian society. Doesn't go well with almost any doesn't go well with any free society. But at least they're going to check on that. But the Labour's Foreign Affairs spokeswoman, Penny Wong, doesn't understand the need for changes. If English grammar is the test, there might be a few members of Parliament who might struggle. Ha 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 ha. What a funny woman. If you want to go to Australia and be an Australian, it is a privilege, according to these people, to become an Australian. So you need to make the extra effort. And that's really what it's all about, is that these guys in Australia have finally decided that if you want to become a citizen there, you need to put out a little extra effort to prove that you really want to become a citizen and not just reside there like so many do in America. So I guess my question on this is, what has changed in Australia that's making them do this? Or maybe not making them, but causing them to do this. There's to my knowledge, there hasn't been an outbreak of radical Islamic terrorism in Australia. They don't have that problem. Maybe, just maybe, they're taking a look around the world and they maybe say, well, you know what, maybe we should be proactive about this. Governments aren't very good at proactive, of course, unless it's something like global warming or raising your taxes or something that's really important to government. Then they're proactive as all get out. But as far as this kind of stuff, as far as immigration, illegal immigration, that kind of stuff, they're nothing but reactive, if they react at all. But just maybe they've looked around the world, and they look at Europe, and they look at America, and they look at the Middle East, and have decided, hey, you know what? We're going to get a jump on this, and we're going to change our rules and make it more difficult for people who shouldn't be here to not be here, to not become citizens. That makes a lot of sense. And frankly, it's a bit of a novelty. And the novelty is that a government, as we've seen all over the world, including our last term president, didn't seem to be really concerned about protecting their own citizens. Europe, certainly. Germany, France, Italy, Greece, all those places that have been rocked with terrorist attacks, none of them seemed to give a hoot about the citizens. They all were more concerned about protecting the refugees, protecting the immigrants. That's all they cared about. Australia, on the other hand, seems to be more concerned about protecting their citizens. But we don't seem to worry about that kind of stuff. But at least one country in the world seems to want to, at least, and bully for Australia for wanting to do this. Let's take a break. You're listening to me, the Common Constitutionalist.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Okay, so our second, final, whatever segment is from The Blaze. And this one's a good one. Hope you're sitting down, and I hope you got your duct tape ready, because you're going to want to wrap your head so when it explodes, it ain't going to prevent it from exploding. But as Glenn Beck likes to say, and it's his blaze, I guess, although he says, I don't have anything to do with the blaze. It won't prevent your head from exploding, but the duct tape will keep the large pieces together, so like Humpty Dumpty, somebody can put you back together again when your head does explode from hearing this news. And this comes to us from The Blaze, like I said, and from Harvard University, our favorite, worst university in the country. Although UC Berkeley, it's, again, as I've said prior, it's a 1A type of deal. At least as far as political correctness goes, it has been taken to new heights. So here we go. The Blaze writes that Harvard University's Office of, here we go again, the acronym's even been changed. What did it used to be? LGBT, right? Right? Lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, or something? Is that what it was? I don't care enough to know, so whatever. So let me begin again. Harvard University's Office of BLGTQ. E-I-E-I-O, Old MacDonald. Student Life has designed a new school-sponsored gender diversity guide for students aiming to fight transphobia and describing, I can't stand it, and describing gender fluidity as being able to change from day to day. Yes, indeed. Give me a freaking break. BLGTQ. It sounds like a tasty sandwich at Arby's. Give me the meat. Or we've got the meat. Or something. What's he say on that Arby's commercial? We've got the meat. Something like that. The bacon, lettuce, Genoa salami, tomato, and I don't know what the Q is. That's the odd man out. Any rate, the guide was distributed to students on campus according to Campus Reform, again, another one of my favorite sites for all this nonsense, and asserts gender fluidity as a proven fact And if Harvard has proven that gender fluidity is indeed a scientific fact, you know it to be so. That's the ticket. It opens by proclaiming the differences between biological sex and gender identity. Quote, I can't stand this. Sex assigned at birth and gender identity are not necessarily the same, the heading reads. Sex assigned at birth, gender identity, sexual orientation, hormonal makeup, physical anatomy, and or one is perceived in daily life are not necessarily related. Yes, indeedy. There are more quote, there are more than two sexes, unquote. The guideline continues in bold letters. Quote, many factors influence biological sex, including internal and external genitalia. If you got something growing out of your leg or your arm, that's the ticket. Hormones and chromosomes. There you go. And it adds that, quote, even within categories of male and female, every human expression of sex is in some way biologically variant from the next. Egad. The Office of BLGTQ Student Life then explains in the Gender Diversity Guide that gender is fluid and ever-changing, even as often as daily. For many people, cis, as in CIS, and trans, gender expression, identity, and self-understanding can change from day to day, the guide says. Can I point out, Harvard is, if it's not the most expensive school in the nation, it's one of the most expensive schools in the nation. You ever wonder why it's so doggone expensive? They have offices and all these sorts of things, the organizations and groups that they sponsor and pay for, such as the BLT Club or the BLGTQ Club, or Student Life. They probably have their own floor, their own building, their own center. They probably have their own newsletter paid for by the school. They probably have all sorts of stuff and nonsense paid for by the school, which means it's paid for by little Jilly and Johnny who are going to the school. And that's why these bloody places are so expensive. Not just because they can be. It's all the extra added crap that you have to pay for. It's no different from America. We pay for all sorts of crap that we can't use and we don't want, but that's just too bad. If you want to go to Harvard and get a grand education in government or something like that, then this is the kind of stuff that you pay for. But at any rate, I digress. The Harvard The Harvard Student Guide then addresses those who may be spreading information contrary to what they have cited above. Transphobic misinformation is a form of systematic violence. Yes, sticks and stones don't break your bones, but names sure can, apparently. They claim that fixed binaries and biological essentialism. Don't you just love this crap? These made-up terms. It's just such nonsense. The Department of Nonsensical Words Put Together Department or something. I don't know what it is. Fixed binaries and biological essentialism manifest in gendered language, misgendering someone, and the policy and the policing of trans bodies. What the heck does that mean? Threatens the lives of trans people. Who polices trans bodies? I don't. And how would you do that? Would you frisk them or something to make sure that they have their junk and I was going to say junk in the trunk. But if that's where you got your junk, brother, you're doing it wrong. How's that grab you? So if you even question this type of thing, that's a form of systematic violence. So basically what I'm doing right now in this podcast is a form of systematic violence and transphobia. I'm not afraid of transgender people. Isn't that what a phobia is? Is an illogical fear of something. I don't fear these people. I just think it's all a bunch of crap. I think they're mentally ill. 99.9 out of 100 of these people are mentally ill, and they don't have any kind of physical transgendered state or some such crapola. And here we go. According to campus reform, some students had the nerve on campus to be upset that school funds were being used on this project, but refused to come forward out of fear of repercussions from the school. And you are darn tootin', brother. They don't, you know, you can't be really dumb and go to Harvard. It may have a lot of other problems, but it does have some smart people there. And these people are smart enough not to come forward because you know that the wrath of Allah would be down on top of them for sure for speaking out against trans whoever's and the BLGTQ EIO community. So Campus Reform's California campus correspondent Peter Van Voorhis, who originally reported on the story, spoke with the Blaze about the story. He says that students across the country are sick of this transgender nonsense and are fighting back to promote truth on their campuses. It's a shame that an historic institution like Harvard University has stooped this low. Yes, I agree, it is a shame, but leave it to Harvard to lead the way on this kind of BLGTQ crap, transgender crap, all this cis and trans and all this other crap. It's all such nonsense. It's all just feel-good. I hold my tongue. That's enough. I don't want to get myself into trouble here. But meanwhile, the Office of BLGTQ Student Life's website boasts events like Drag Night, Lesbian Visibility Day, and at Queer Harvard campaign. So they're allowed to do crap like this, but no one's allowed to speak up against it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. This stuff is just, I don't know when this stuff's going to burn out, but it's going to come to a head at some point in time. They're going to push this, and they're going to push it too freaking far, and people have already had it. As students, I couldn't imagine being a white male conservative student on a college campus today. I couldn't imagine it. And frankly, I don't think I'd last a month, probably not even a week on campus before I'd get myself into trouble with my caustic tongue, so to speak, calling out this crapola. It's just unbelievable how far these schools have taken this garbage. And then these kids graduate from Harvard unless they go work for the government or some think tank or something like that, or lobbying group that appeases them. They're gonna have a stark awakening when they get out into the business world and expect people to put up with this kind of crapola. That's all I've got today. This is the Common Constitutionalist signing off. Y'all have a great balance of a weekend, and I am out of here. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast.